Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Palma Yachtcrew Vlogs right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Ria. I am your host, and today we are very pleased to welcome back Tristan, Super Yacht Captain. How are you?
I'm very well, Ria. Spending a lot more time at home than I probably should, but I'm guessing it's the same for a lot of us.
How are you? How are you finding that? Because right now, normally you'd be extremely busy.
I'm enjoying every second of it, to be honest with you. Yesterday, I spent the whole day in the garden, power washing the tile floors and the walls, and focusing on the house. So it's been lovely, and we got us to stay positive in these times. I know a lot of people are being hit really hard. As you know, our industry's been hit very hard, but we're just cracking on with it day by day.
Well, how long do you think you're going to be at home, or do you think you're going to be going back
Well,
very soon?
we still can be working on board, but we're not making contact, obviously, with the outside world without going to the supermarket. So we basically go from the crew apartment to the boat to the crew apartment. There's no interaction between. And where the boat is, really, it's in the shipyard that's in the middle of nowhere. There's not many people around. So as long as we can keep busy, then we'll probably stay sane. Yeah.
Well, good luck with that.
Thank you. But no, for me this week I'm actually at the house in France, and yeah, we're obviously in isolation and keeping busy with doing things like with you, editing videos for the YouTube channel and working in the garden.
Well, that's brilliant. You'll have some time to set more things up on the YouTube channel, so we'll all have some entertainment while we're isolated.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So make sure you go check it out.
So we will. I always put a link up, and whenever you put a new video out, I make sure everybody knows. So don't worry. Stay tuned right here to see what Tristan's up to next. But the reason that we are talking today is an important topic that I think probably hasn't been addressed as much as it should be. Masters and captains overriding authority within the industry and the importance of it. Now, from my concept, it really comes down to safety. It's a safety issue.
It is. It's definitely a safety issue, and it's also about educating the people that don't understand or know it. So ultimately, really, the master's responsibility on any vessel is three things. It's to ensure the safety of life, to ensure the safety of the vessel, and to ensure the safety of the environment. Okay, and he or she has to do everything in their power to ensure those three things. Okay. So as we look at the safety side of stuff, things like, if we're in the middle of a charter and the weather is bad and the client wants to, take the boat out or leave the anchorage, and you feel it's not safe to do so, it's your responsibility as the master to inform the client. But this is why I want to talk about it, because there seems to be an underlying issue within yachting about the master overriding authority. And I think it's important that we talk about it today.
Well, let me ask you, as a master or a captain, what do you term authority?
Okay, so everybody interprets it in different ways. Okay, ultimately, what will happen if something goes wrong on board a vessel? Okay, the master is responsible. Okay, he or she has the final say of what's going to happen with that particular vessel. So because of that responsibility, you have the authority, because in the court of law, you're the master. So you made that decision. So this is what gives you the authority. Now, it doesn't mean the authority that you should be barking orders at people and telling people exactly what to do. What it means is good communication, not only within the crew, but good communication with the charter client, good communication with the owner, the management company, and the charter brokers and the central agents, right? And with good communication and explanation, a good captain will always, to put it bluntly, get their way. But all we want to do is to ensure, again, those three things: the safety of the life, the vessel, and the environment.
Do you find that charter brokers, for example, are as knowledgeable about how the things on board should work, and do possibly they overpromise to charter guests?
Right. Yeah, I think, look, I'm very fortunate that we've worked with some amazing charter brokers over the years who are very understanding, who I have a great working relationship with, who have sent us multiple clients. And there are very good charter brokers out there. But at the same time, like in any industry, there are the bad apples as well, who tend to, overpromise. Now, and I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, we had a broker that said to the client that the chef was available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week during the duration of the charter. Now, the broker obviously didn't know this, but that is 100% illegal, because any commercial vessel, whether it be a yacht, an oil tanker, a passenger ship, must comply with what's called MLC, which is the Maritime and Labour Convention, which basically sets the standards of the rights of the crew, the health and the safety of the crew. And what it says is that crew are entitled to a minimal hours of rest and a maximum hours of work. Okay. So by the broker saying that to the client, what he or she is saying to the client is completely wrong and, totally illegal. Now, the sad thing is that a lot of yachts and boats out there do actually do that. They provide that service. And what they're doing is illegal. And if something goes wrong, if the chef was to seriously injure themselves because of they're overworked and they're tired, say they're chopping, they lose a finger, this comes back to the captain. It's the overriding authority. In the course of law, they're going to say, Captain, why has the chef been working for 24 hours straight? So then it falls again back onto the captain. So going back to with the brokers, what is important is, what I find really helps me as a captain is, as soon as we get a charter that comes in, if it's a broker that I don't know, I will send them an email and I will want to talk to them and explain to them, what their clients can expect on AWOL. And then we start talking about the itinerary. And I always say, with the itinerary, it's always subject to weather. I will talk about the type of, the food that the chef can put together, the timings, and just to manage the broker's expectations when they pass on the information, to the client. And again, this in some ways does fall under the master's overriding authority, because as a good captain, you're going to explain to people and communicate with people the what the client can expect.
So it sounds really like it's more of an education issue. The fact that you actually do have to educate people on some of the rules and the regulations. It's not that brokers, of course, not all brokers, it's not that these brokers necessarily are doing what they want to do just so that they can get the sale of the charter, but maybe it's just because they don't have the proper education going in.
I think it's definitely a point to be said. It is, it is important for brokers to understand the laws and expectations. But, at the same time, it is down to us, the captains, to educate the brokers, because nobody else is going to, right? And, unfortunately, a number of brokers out there haven't worked as crew in the industry, so might not know the rules and regulations. And it's not their fault. They're doing their job. So I think also, as the industry does progress, and from my point of view, it is getting a lot safer now. It's a lot more professional than it used to be, with the more, the senior crew. A lot of the management companies, the people who are managing the yachts, tend to be, have worked as yacht crew in the past, whether it be pursers or captains or engineers, which I think is fantastic. I find it hard. It's difficult to understand how you have a yacht manager who's never worked on a yacht before. So all these things fall into place. And it's, the other thing that I want to say is, part of the master's overriding authority is your approach towards it. It's making sure the vessel is always priority. The safety is always priority number one. And then we, as the crew and the captains, we want to ensure that our guests have a fantastic time. Why is that? We want them to come back at the end of the year. We don't want them to leave a good review. And from the cruise point of view, they want to get a good gratuity. So the way that we do that is, a prime example was last year. We had a repeat client, a lovely gentleman and his family from the States. We had developed a itinerary before the charter started. We were going to start in the south of France, spend 2 or 3 days in the south of France, go over to Corsica, spent 5 days in Corsica, and the last couple of days in Elba, then finishing in Portofino. Now, the issue with this is that after day 2 or 3, we realized that the following day or 2 days' time, we won't be able to do the crossing because of the weather. Now, I've heard in a lot of cases that the captains won't say no to the client, which I understand. We are going to cross. But what I did is I brought the client onto the bridge. I sat him down next to me. I showed him the weather forecast. I didn't say to him, no, we can't do it. I said to him that this can be very difficult to do, but what I suggest is we do this, which was we leave a day early. Yes, we're going to miss Saint-Tropez, but if we stay here, it's going to have a knock-on effect. And you'd rather go to Corsica and Portofino and Elba because it's a lot more interesting, because we already done like Monaco and Cannes. And because of the way I approached the client, bear in mind we're dealing with some of the world's most wealthiest, most powerful people, and these people do have egos. It's assuring them in a way that their vacation isn't going to be affected in a negative way, and they can see that we're finding solutions. This again falls under the master's, overriding authority. So what we did is we took the decision that we would skip Saint-Tropez, and we did the crossing that day to Corsica, completely safe. Weather was fantastic. We did a night crossing. We arrived the next morning, and the rest of the vacation, they had a fantastic time.
Well, I can imagine that would be hard because you do have a charter client or your owner saying, this is the way I want things to be. But you, as the master or captain, are responsible for every living soul on board that vessel, as well as the vessel itself.
Yes.
So you have to make that decision. And it can be done, I guess, either in a very strong manner where nobody walks away happy, or it can be done through a method of compromise and reasoning.
Exactly. And I find pretty much all the time, actually, if you sit down with people or you speak to them and you explain and you put it in a way that they can understand, they're not going to disagree with you, because I don't want to say no, the majority of sane people, right, won't want to cross from France to Corsica when it's blowing a 4 to 8 Mistral. Don't get me wrong, there are some mad clientele out there, but the majority of the time, if you explain to them, you show them the forecast, it's going to be, understandably, it's going to be fine. Now, the issue that we're also having with the master overriding authority is, what I've noticed is, a question that we ask ourselves a lot is the success of most of your AWOL. And I always said it's been the crew, right? And I'm very fortunate to have worked with fantastic crew over the last few years. And more, on top of that, we have a fantastic owner. But what I've realized recently is, unlike the majority of, the yachts in our category out there, is because I've been with the owner for so many years, we started with a smaller boat. It's always been myself and the crew that made the decisions. So when we then got to AWOL, when we got the previous boat, I chose the charter central agent, which was Anna Granlund from IYC, who I still work with 11 years later. She's still my CA. And I got that through a recommendation from another captain, who's a very good friend of mine. And he said, go and work with her. She's absolutely brilliant. And I haven't regressed it. I've never looked back. Then when we got AWOL, we had to get ISM management. So I'm the one that went to get the ISM manager in place, So in a way, it was me and the team that were always kind of at the top, and we were having the companies work, in a sense, not for us, but with us. Whereas the majority of the time, captains are working for management companies. So they have, they don't have a direct link with the owner. Their link is the management company. And saying it's right or wrong. What I'm saying is the way that we've done it has worked really well. And I think the proof is in the pudding with the success of AWOL, with the success of the repeat clientele says it all. And when you've got a management company who are putting pressure on you and they're not on board, it's difficult, because there's been a lot of comments saying that, you're putting your job at risk, and it's simply wrong. If the master is saying it's not safe to do something, the management company should not question that. As long as the master comes with other solutions, not saying, no, we're not doing it. If you say, guys, we really can't do this, we can leave maybe 2 days later or 2 days before, but we can't leave on this date for whatever reason. We can't do this because we're waiting for essential parts to arrive. And I really would hope that the management company would, acknowledge this and support the captain. But from the comments that I've seen on, about this, it's shocking how many captains fear for their job security when they say no. They haven't got the overriding authority. Because at the end of the day, it's them, the captain, that will go to jail. Nobody else.
Do you think maybe it's a bit of a power struggle?
Possibly. It could, yeah, maybe. It shouldn't be. I think, we're very fortunate, even with the company I work with now, the ISM company, he actually still gives me a hard time because we do miss things. And I love that he gives me a hard time, my ISM manager. He said, Tris, you missed this, you missed that. I'm human, I'm not perfect. But this is why I wanted to work with him, because I knew he was very good, had a very good reputation, and just wants the boat. He wants his boats, the ones that he manages, to be safe. I want that as well. So it's not about who's in charge or who's the most powerful. It's about working as the team and to ensuring ultimately those three things: safety of the life, safety of the vessel, and safety of the environment. And we should all be doing it together. But, speaking to other captains, it doesn't seem that they're getting the support, not only from the management companies, but from the owners. And it should be the management companies educating the owners as well and managing the owners' expectations. I'm very fortunate that, my owners, he's fantastic. If I say to him, look, the weather's going to be really bad, let's do this, or we're going to do that, or we have an issue on board, or whatever it might be, as long as I explain to him and give him a solution, he's never questioned it. He's, in the last 12, 13 years, he's always been understanding.
Well, it sounds like there seems to be a big issue over the fact that everyone needs to really understand that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether it's an owner, whether it's a charter, whether that yacht is just in transit or you're taking it, to another location for the next season. The fact is that master captain is ultimately responsible for every soul on board.
Exactly.
So in saying such, there really shouldn't be anybody that has any say in how that yacht is run.
From a safety point of view, and
from a safety point of view.
Yeah, from a safety, no.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, management companies are there to support and to help you. Okay. You shouldn't be there to support and help them. This is the mindset that's wrong. They should be there to help you to manage the boat as safely and as efficiently as can possibly be done. With the way the hierarchy works, not in our case, I'm very fortunate. The way the hierarchy thing works is it doesn't seem right. It's wrong that a lot of captains fear for their jobs because if in case they say no to something.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Maybe it's just a matter of education, and once again, one of the reasons that I started up Yachting International Radio was that there needs to be a lot of dialogue within the industry, and I think the industry up until this point or recently, there hasn't been a lot of dialogue. That is changing, and that's very exciting because there's so many things straight across the board that once the dialogue is opened up, people can communicate, and that usually leads for change. Whereas if there's no communication, there's resentment, I think, and lives can be lost.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to say also there are very good people out there. We had one situation last season during a charter we had a total failure of our stabilizers, right? The main motherboard had completely failed, and we needed to ship in a new one from, we were in Corsica at the time, we had to ship in a new one from, it was shipped from Milan to Genoa, then Genoa to Corsica. And we thought, okay, we've got no stabilizers now for the rest of the charter. And I spoke to the engineer. I said, any way we can do a complete, a temporary fix? He said, look, the whole motherboard is fried. We need a new motherboard. So what I did is I went with the chief officer. We looked at the weather forecast, and we said we were very, very lucky is that it was going to be flat calm for the duration, the rest of the charter. So I said, okay, so we can safely do this. Now, before everybody jumps on the bandwagon, you can operate a vessel totally legally without stabilizers, okay? When it comes to the Classification Society, they do not check stabilizers at sea trials. In fact, when we did our sea trials last year with class, they insisted we turn the stabilizers off. So I want to make that point, okay? Is that what we decided is I spoke to the broker. I said, look, this is the situation. We've lost our stabilizers. It will not be fixed in time for the duration of the charter. The chief officer, the engineer, and I have discussed that we can't fix it. I've spoken to the chief officer, and I have decided that the weather is going to be very good. There is no risk of safety to the vessel or to the people on board. We're happy to continue. And he said, Tristan, I completely understand. If you want to cancel, that's absolutely fine with me. You have a legitimate reason to cancel. So that shows to me that the broker does care. So there are good brokers out there. And what we decided to do, we continue with the charter. We decided not to inform the guests because we didn't want to scare them. And as the weather forecast, we were monitoring multiple times a day. It was fantastic the last 2-3 days of the charter. And the guests had no idea. And, they often they were very, very, very happy and, went on for the rest of the summer. So this goes to show that, in some cases, problems can be solved, but and at the same time, there are brokers who are understanding.
Yeah. Well, it sounds really like it comes down to communication and education. Yeah. And I think that if everyone sort of comes together with the same idea that you want cohesion throughout in order to make it a better industry and a safer industry, that this is probably, the direction in which everyone needs to go.
Yeah. And I think also the other thing we haven't touched on is insurances. Okay.
Yes.
So, every charter yacht will, I would hope, will have an insurance policy. And in our case, in our insurance policy, we have limitations as to what weather conditions we allow to take the vessel out on, okay? Which I fully agree with. Ours is quite low because we tow a chase boat. So I think anything over a force, I need to double check. I think it's force 4 with a chase boat and a force 5, 6, without the chase boat, right? And I know for a fact, right, there have been a number of yachts that have taken the vessels out that have not complied with the insurance policy. So if something was to happen, the insurance wouldn't cover. And again, who's going to be one that people get pointing fingers at? Is the master. And probably more than likely, they've been pressured by the management company, by the owner, by the broker, by the charter client, and felt that they've risked it a few times before, no problem. But that one time, all it takes is one time and it's game over. Your whole career can be over, Well,
and it's not even just the career. The fact is the amount of damage, there could be lives lost. The damage could be into the millions, multi-millions. Yeah. It is something that really has to be adhered to. And ultimately, the captain, as you said, is responsible. Yeah. So, that's something that really has to be looked at.
It really does. It really does. And the thing, I don't want to, seem like I'm like moaning. All I'm saying is we work better as a team. We're not, like you mentioned earlier, is it a power struggle? It shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be. It doesn't need to be, because ultimately, I like to think we all have the same goal. And what is that? We want to run a safe vessel. We want to have a busy charter season. We want all of our clients to leave with big smiles on their faces, wanting to come back the following year. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, when the season is finished, the crew have a nice gratuity pot, and they go and see their families or have holidays, and it's a win-win for everybody. you know, it shouldn't be a power struggle. It should be a team effort. And this is what I struggle to understand.
Well, and the thing is, most times crew are looking to work their way up in life, and to work on a boat where everybody is doing the best job they can. That means that every day crew is learning, which
Yeah,
means that along the line, as they get older, they might actually be able to fulfill their career goals as well.
absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, exactly. This is it. You know, we all in life, we all want to grow. We want to excel. We want to, you know, be able to provide for our families. And again, in yachting, we do that by working together. You know, it's not, there's this, you know, outlay, there's this thing within the industry, you know, brokers kind of like against captains, or, you know, sales brokers against captains, or management companies against brokers, or whatever it might be. And the truth is, we're all in the same industry. You know, we're all in the same boat. No pun intended. But and we strive by doing it together, not by clashing heads.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even just the yachting industry. I think it's any industry straight across the planet. But you always do see that there are certain, you know, areas or companies within any industry that do find the cohesion that you found on AWOL with your crew, with your owner, with your management company, with your charter brokers, with everybody that is involved in the success of AWOL.
Yeah,
You will find that anywhere in the world. People do come together and have a great cohesive environment and do go on to great success, as you have.
they do.
So, you know, it's just a matter, I think, of the industry taking a look at the examples that you and others, there are others as well, set, and maybe take a look at that model and think maybe this is how we can move forward.
Yeah, I think you're right. And if you need any proof, just you know, I don't want to sound big-headed, but just look at how well AWOL is doing. You know, and that's the proof is in the pudding. We all work together.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, obviously there's a lot that needs to be learned, like anything in life.
Yep.
And hopefully people will continue in their quest for excellence in the industry. And, you know, I do honestly myself, I don't envy the amount of responsibility that is on a master captain's shoulders. I'm not sure that I could personally deal with it. It's a lot of pressure and it's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, you do. I tell you what, it's interesting because you do have your good days and your bad days. And, you know, sometimes if you overthink stuff, it can really give you a lot of anxiety and nerves. And so what I do, I say, let's just take it a step at a time. If you start overthinking everything, then, you know, everything's going to be a total disaster. But you got to ensure that you have a good team behind you. And by having a good team behind you, they'll be supportive towards you. And in return, you need to be supportive towards them. So I'm thankful that I've got that support. And it is, yeah, you do, you know, whenever you take the boat out, you always think in the back of your mind, you know, if anything does go wrong, worst case scenario, people will be looking to you and you're going to have to react like that, you know. So.
Well, you know what? I encourage anybody out there that is watching and listening to check out Tristan's Super Yacht Captain YouTube channel if you want to see how a great team works together. Because you guys have so much fun, as well as make sure that everything is done appropriately and properly and in a timely manner. And it's a wonderful thing to see. So if you want to see some great examples, do check out the YouTube channel. Thank you again, Tristan. I really do appreciate your time.
Well, thank you for listening to me mumble on. But no, honestly, I just felt it's very important that we discuss this because, you know, from what I'm hearing, it does tend to be a problem. But thank you for your time and thank you for having me on again.
Well, no, you're welcome back anytime because, you know, these tidbits of information are the only things that are going to change the industry going into the future for the generations that are coming up behind. So the more of this, I think, and the more dialogue, the better off for the industry as a whole. Thank you again. This has been another edition of Palma Yachtcrew Vlogs right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Ria. I've been your host. Thank you again to Tristan, Super Yacht Captain on YouTube. We'll see you next time.